Hello again, cherished viewers of GoldDaysUSA. If your home featured even just one of the items we're discussing today back in the 1960s, your neighbors probably assumed you were quite well off. In that decade, affluence wasn't always about grand estates or fancy boats. It often manifested in everyday comforts that left others impressed. Let's journey back and explore 25 subtle yet significant indicators that suggested you were living comfortably in the 60s. Flying on airplanes for vacation. There was an era when boarding an airplane felt like entering an exclusive realm characterized by smart attire, courteous service, and an atmosphere of distinction. Throughout the 1960s, air travel wasn't merely getting from A to B. It was a special occasion, a privilege largely unattainable for the average person. Families choosing to fly for holidays were widely regarded as having achieved significant success, as commercial flights were neither common nor affordable for most. While typical families embarked on long road trips in a station wagon, wealthier individuals ascended into sleek jets bound for places like Disneyland or Florida's beaches. The steep cost of airline tickets made flying an infrequent luxury. Airports themselves possessed a certain glamour, with travelers often dressed impeccably. Every detail suggested sophistication. Traveling by air for leisure was a clear indicator of belonging to a higher economic stratum. 2 cars in the driveway. Can you recall when having a second car parked outside was a key part of the American aspiration? During the 1960s, that additional vehicle signified more than just transportation. It was a visible symbol of achievement. While most households made do with 1 car, possessing 2 suggested a level of financial comfort and perhaps a more luxurious way of life. Hearing a kid boast about his mother having her own car could leave others wide-eyed. And if one happened to be a Cadillac with its distinctive tail fins, that represented undeniable prestige. Beyond status, 2 cars offered real independence, particularly for housewives needing to run errands. In a time when vehicle ownership itself felt significant, 2 cars spoke volumes about having arrived. American Express card. Imagine settling a bill in a way that instantly signaled your standing in the world. During the 1960s, presenting an American Express card achieved just that. It functioned less like plastic money and more like a discreet, respected emblem of social position. Credit wasn't widely used for daily purchases then. Cash and checks predominated. Only a select group carried charge cards, especially one as deliberately exclusive as Amex, known for targeting affluent customers with higher fees and stricter approvals. Using it at upscale restaurants or hotels definitely drew attention. With the introduction of the Amex Gold Card mid-decade, the card became even more strongly associated with a lifestyle involving travel, fine dining, and access to privileged circles. In a time of greater financial discretion, carrying that card quietly conveyed success. Thinking back, did your family have any of these items in the 60s? Which one evoked the most pride? Having a dishwasher. Owning an automatic dishwasher in the 1960s immediately set your household apart. Neighbors likely saw you as enjoying a truly prosperous lifestyle. Remember, this was an era where sink loads of dishes were a daily, manual chore for most families. So, possessing a machine to handle that task seemed incredibly advanced. A dishwasher was more than useful. It was a clear status symbol. It often shone under the kitchen lights, a testament to the household ability to afford modern convenience and save time. These appliances represented a major purchase, signaling disposable income beyond basic necessities. Your kitchen suddenly felt like a showcase of modern living, that mechanical hum doing the work. For many back then, it felt almost magical. 2 bathrooms. What was the significance of a family having 2 bathrooms in the 1960s home? Quite simply, It suggested fewer morning bottlenecks and a marked improvement in household convenience and status. The majority of houses from that era or earlier were equipped with just one bathroom, which often saw heavy use. The experience of waiting in line during the morning rush was common. Therefore, discovering a friend's home had a guest bathroom or a second full bath felt extraordinarily luxurious. It wasn't solely about comfort. It represented a significant investment in plumbing, fixtures, and home value that wasn't accessible to everyone. It pointed to financial ease and embraced modern residential design. For parents, it offered privacy. For children, less conflict. It subtly communicated that the family operated with a greater degree of comfort and resources. Private bedroom for each child. If you were a child in the 1960s with your very own bedroom, consider yourself extremely fortunate, akin to having a personal suite. Back then, it was common for families to house 2 or even 3 children together in one room, often utilizing bunk beds. Consequently, having 4 walls and a door entirely to oneself felt like a remarkable luxury. It implied more than just ample room. It indicated the family could afford a larger residence, one with enough bedrooms to spare without converting spaces meant for other uses. For those lucky children, their room was a personal haven where they could express individuality, perhaps choosing paint colors or specific wallpaper. This provided a rare, early sense of personal space, privacy, and independence when sharing was the norm. 2 living rooms. A subtle indicator of elevated living was entering a house and discovering it contained 2 distinct living areas. Most families counted themselves lucky to have one main gathering space, but encountering a second, formal living room, often kept immaculately preserved for appearances, signaled a different standard of living. This formal space was frequently untouched, its furniture sometimes even encased in protective plastic that crackled if sat upon. Draperies might remain closed to prevent fading, every cushion perfectly arranged. It wasn't merely about interior design. It represented a commitment to presentation, social grace, and maintaining certain standards. The other, more casual living area hosted everyday activities. That pristine, reserved room, however, symbolized control, elegance, and the financial ability to dedicate space solely for impression, telling visitors a lot about the household's priorities and means. International travel. While domestic air travel itself signified status, embarking on journeys beyond the United States for leisure during the 1960s positioned a family within an exceptionally privileged group. Trips to European capitals like Paris or Rome, or even more distant destinations, were experiences most Americans only read about. Undertaking international travel necessitated not just the substantial cost of overseas flights, but also obtaining passports, arranging for extended time off work, navigating foreign currencies, and possessing a degree of global awareness. Returning with foreign souvenirs or sending postcard from abroad served as concrete evidence of participating in a global sphere, reflecting a level of financial freedom and cultural engagement far removed from everyday American life. It implied a broader perspective and considerable resources. Wearing a fur coat. Appearing in public adorned in a genuine fur coat during the 1960s conveyed far more than just protection from the cold. It was an immediate, unambiguous declaration of status and sophistication. In an era where practical wool coats were standard winter attire for most women, real fur, whether opulent mink, stylish fox, or even ermine trim, was largely associated with the upper echelons of society. These garments were not everyday purchases, but rather significant investments, often given as important gifts or treasured as heirlooms. The cost alone could be formidable, comparable to major household expenses, and the need for specialized storage and care further emphasized their exclusivity. In the 60s, for symbolized tradition, luxury, and a certain quiet authority. A woman draped in fur projected an image of belonging to a world of privilege and established elegance. Color TV, especially more than one. Few domestic acquisitions in the 1960s generated as much excitement or neighborly admiration as a color television set. For families bringing one home, it represented more than just improved viewing. It was a vibrant symbol of modern prosperity. As most households still gathered around black and white screens, color TV offered an almost enchanting visual richness, making shows like Bonanza dazzlingly vivid. And if a household possessed more than one television set, that wasn't just about multiple viewing options. It clearly signaled substantial financial resources. Color TVs were a major expense early in the decade, costing what might amount to weeks or months of an average salary. Those who could afford one often became neighborhood focal points for special televised events. A color TV didn't just alter how you saw the world on screen. It influenced how others perceive your place in it. Owning a vacation home. What sort of household required duplicates of essentials like bedding, kitchenware, and perhaps even major appliances, one set for their main residence, and another for the cottage or the cabin? It was the kind that possessed a vacation home in the 1960s, a truly significant indicator of substantial wealth. At that time, most people concentrated on the mortgage for their primary dwelling. Therefore, the ability to acquire and maintain a second property placed a family in an elite category. Whether it was a lakeside retreat, a mountain hideaway, or a seaside bungalow, owning a vacation home was more than a simple luxury. It represented a whole lifestyle. It involved not only the initial purchase, but also ongoing costs for taxes, maintenance, utilities, furnishings, and travel. While typical family vacations involved motel stays, having one's own dedicated getaway spot was tangible evidence of significant financial achievement. TV guide subscription. Long before digital guides or recording devices, the premier method for knowing television schedules involved a small, glossy magazine readily available at checkout counters. In the 1960s, regularly purchasing TV guide signified more than just planning viewing habits. It was a subtle indicator of being connected to modern culture. While many relied on the basic newspaper listings, spending the extra change on TV guide suggested a bit of disposable income and a deeper interest in television programming. This compact publication offered more than just schedules. It featured colorful photographs, celebrity interviews, and previews of upcoming shows, bringing a touch of Hollywood into homes. In an era of limited and fixed broadcast schedules, TV Guide provided a sense of organization and engagement with the burgeoning world of television, feeling like a small but regular indulgence. Sending children to private school. Few things distinguished a child more clearly in the neighborhood than the sight of them heading off in a tailored uniform, perhaps carrying a formal school bag, while others wore typical play clothes. During the 1960s, enrolling children in private school was often interpreted not just as an educational preference, but as a significant statement about the family's financial capacity and social aspirations. The majority attended local public schools. Private institutions, however, often featured distinct uniforms, sometimes specialized curricula, and notably, substantial tuition fees that were beyond the reach of average families. These schools were frequently perceived as offering more than academics. They promised valuable networks, rigorous discipline, and a refined image aimed at facilitating future opportunities, possibly including pathways to prestigious universities. While most households managed budgets carefully, these families invested significantly in providing an exclusive educational experience, signaling both means and ambition. Inground swimming pool. By the mid to late 1960s, arguably nothing declared, you've truly arrived more emphatically than having a private, built-in swimming pool in your backyard. While typical families relied on sprinklers or trips to crowded public pools for summer relief, the select few possessing shimmering, turquoise water just steps from their house inhabited a different, more luxurious sphere. Installing an in-ground pool was a major construction expense, and it entailed ongoing costs for maintenance, chemicals, utilities, and significant responsibility. However, for families who could manage it, the lifestyle enhancement was immense. Backyard barbecues transformed into desirable pool parties, positioning their home as the neighborhood's summer social hub. While above-ground pools offered fun, an in-ground pool signified permanent, integrated elegance, a private oasis that served as the ultimate glistening emblem of success. Stereo systems. Moving beyond basic radios or simple record players, only those with considerable means, or devoted audiophiles with the budget to match, could acquire the impressive audio equipment that often served as stylish furniture. In the 1960s, a high-fidelity, hi-fi stereo system frequently manifested as a prominent status symbol, typically housed within a large, beautifully crafted wooden console that dominated a section of the living room. These units were often substantial pieces, designed to look as good as they sounded. Their purpose was to reproduce music with exceptional clarity and richness, turning listening into a focused experience. Families might gather around to appreciate the superior sound quality. Acquiring such sophisticated systems, which might include powerful amplifiers and large, high-quality speakers, represented a major financial commitment, along with the ongoing expense of building a vinyl record collection. The immersive sound quality was impressive, as was the statement it made about the owner's prosperity and appreciation for quality. Central air conditioning. Entering a residence cooled by central air conditioning during a 1960s summer felt akin to stepping into the future, or at least an upscale establishment. While the majority battled the heat using window fans or perhaps a single, noisy window AC unit struggling to cool one room, central air conveyed a different message: consistent coolness, advanced technology, and understated affluence. It wasn't merely about escaping the heat. It contributed to a home feeling more refined, controlled, and contemporary. The experience of visiting such a home was memorable. The air felt uniformly cool and less humid, lending the house an air of greater elegance. People took notice when HVAC installation trucks appeared on the street. Central air conditioning was a major expenditure, both for the system itself and the subsequent higher energy costs. Only families with stable, comfortable incomes could typically afford it, making their cool homes discreet indicators of success. Riding lawn mower. Witnessing someone navigate their lawn atop a riding mower in the 1960s often felt like observing suburban royalty. At that time, most homeowners were pushing manual mowers across their yards, especially during hot weather. Therefore, the sight of a neighbor effortlessly cruising on a riding machine was quite impressive. These mowers, offered by brands like John Deere or Wheel Horse, represented a substantial purchase, costing hundreds of dollars, a significant amount for the average budget. The appeal wasn't solely about reducing labor. It was tied to the image of maintaining a pristine lawn, which had become a mark of suburban pride. A riding mower suggested a larger property requiring such equipment and, more importantly, the financial capacity to acquire this top-tier lawn care tool. It was a clear indicator that the family possessed considerable resources. Owning a yacht or recreational boat. Perhaps the most definitive symbol of recreational wealth in 1960s waterside communities was boat ownership. We aren't referring to a simple fishing skiff, but rather a substantial recreational vessel, maybe a stylish runabout like a Chris Craft, a cabin cruiser suitable for weekends away, or even a modest sailing yacht. complete with a name on the stern and polished fittings. Back then, owning and operating such a boat was firmly in the realm of luxury lifestyles, demanding considerable financial outlay. While average families focused on home upkeep or local activities on weekends, those maintaining a boat at the marina belonged to a distinct socioeconomic group. These vessels were expensive to purchase and entailed continuous expenses for upkeep, fuel, mooring, insurance, and storage. Consequently, only the genuinely affluent could typically sustain this hobby. Gliding away from the dock signified a level of success that needed no verbal explanation. Professionally landscaped yard. While owning a riding mower suggested a large lawn and the resources for easy upkeep, having a yard professionally landscaped indicated a further commitment to aesthetics and affluence. This involved more than just neat grass. It meant deliberate garden design, careful selection of plantings, possibly including mature or exotic specimens, installation of features like stone paths or water elements, and crucially, often hiring professional gardeners for regular maintenance. A professionally landscaped yard demonstrated that the owners viewed their property's exterior as a vital component of its overall prestige, investing substantial funds not only in the initial creation, but also in ongoing expert care. It signaled a desire for curated natural beauty and the economic capacity to achieve it through specialized services. Two-story house. In the mid-1960s, a common way to identify a more substantial house on the block was often its height. During a period when single-level ranch homes were highly popular, a two-story residence naturally stood out, both physically and as a symbol. It suggested more than just increased living area. It was a quiet assertion of greater means. Having a second floor usually indicated more financial capacity, more overall space, and potentially a different architectural preference compared to the neighbors in their one-level dwellings. Internally, the layout often provided better separation of living spaces, potentially more bedrooms, maybe a dedicated study, or a formal dining room used infrequently. This verticality offered enhanced privacy, distinguishing adult and children's areas. Above all, it signified that the family had achieved a level of prosperity that allowed for a larger, multi-level home, a visible marker of upward mobility. If you're enjoying this look back, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to catch our next trip down memory lane. Having a housekeeper. If the lady of the house wasn't routinely burdened with simultaneous cooking, cleaning, and child-minding duties, it's possible the family employed domestic help. In the 1960s, hiring someone to clean the home, even part-time, was more than mere convenience. It was a fairly clear signal of the family's comfortable financial standing. Most middle-class households relied on the wife to manage all domestic tasks. Therefore, families utilizing outside assistance, whether a full-time maid or a weekly cleaning lady, operated on a different economic level. Visiting such a home often revealed gleaming surfaces, perfectly vacuumed carpets, and an overall sense of meticulous order. It wasn't just about cleanliness. It suggested that someone had the dedicated time and resources to maintain the home impeccably. In an era of valuing appearances, employing a housekeeper subtly communicated prosperity and social standing. Were there other status symbols prevalent in the 1960s that haven't been covered here? We're eager to read your recollections and thoughts in the comments section. Well-stocked home bar, often situated near the formal living room or alongside the hi-fi system. A dedicated home bar, amply supplied, serve as another indicator of a sophisticated lifestyle and penchant for entertaining during the 1960s. This typically involved more than a few stray bottles. It often meant a specific piece of furniture or built-in area featuring a wide assortment of spirits, liqueurs, mixers, appropriate glassware for various cocktails, and essential bar tools. Maintaining such a setup showed that the homeowners not only enjoyed cocktails, but were also equipped to host guests with style and knowledge. It suggested familiarity with drinks beyond the basics and the financial ability to maintain a diverse inventory. It functioned as a social hub for adult gatherings, representing a chic and hospitable way of life. Flock Christmas tree. A layer of artificial snow, meticulously applied, could instantly transform a standard Christmas tree into an eye-catching holiday centerpiece. During the 1960s, obtaining a flock tree, typically bright white, though sometimes in pastel shades, looking fluffy and festive was not a casual choice. It commanded a higher price than traditional evergreen trees, and its presence in a home's front window was certainly noted by passersby. These trees often resembled professional displays, perhaps adorned with coordinated decorations and intriguing bubble lights. Some families even paid extra for professional flocking services. This additional cost and effort highlighted a focus on presentation and current trends. It served as a symbol of taste and the financial ability to opt for something more unique and stylized during the festive season, making it feel rather exclusive. Fine jewelry. Similar to how a fur coat signified luxury in attire, the ownership of fine jewelry items crafted from precious metals and featuring genuine gems like diamonds, sapphires, or quality pearls acted as a subtle yet powerful testament to a woman's social standing and the family's financial stability. These were not everyday accessories, but rather significant pieces, perhaps a notable diamond ring, a classic pearl necklace, or elegant jeweled earrings, generally reserved for formal events or special evenings out. Acquiring such items represented a major expense, reflecting disposable income and an appreciation for enduring value and timeless style, often carrying sentimental significance as gifts. Fine jewelry quietly communicated established wealth and access to a world where such luxurious adornments were attainable. Built-in ovens and cooktops. Expanding on kitchen advancements like the dishwasher, the installation of built-in wall ovens and separate countertop cooktops represented another leap in 1960s kitchen luxury. Differing from the common freestanding range unit, this configuration, with the oven integrated seamlessly into the wall and a distinct cooktop surface, projected an incredibly modern and customized feel. This setup demanded more than just purchasing appliances. It required thoughtful kitchen design, specialized cabinetry, and incurred higher overall costs. It indicated homeowners who were investing significantly in creating an efficient, aesthetically advanced cooking environment, prioritizing integrated design over standard solutions. This feature often appeared in newly remodeled kitchens, suggesting a family keen on the latest home conveniences and appearances. If you grew up in the 60s, you'll definitely remember these. Folks today just wouldn't get it, would they? The 60s were something else. If you were around back then, certain things just stick with you. Maybe it's a jingle from the TV, the smell of mom's cooking mixed with hairspray, or just a feeling you can't quite name. It was a wild ride of big changes and small joys, a time that shaped who we became. Let's wander back down memory lane to that decade that still feels like yesterday sometimes. Sunday evenings in full color, Disney's magic hour. You knew it was Sunday night when you heard that music and saw the colorful kaleidoscope spinning on the screen for Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. Especially if your family had one of those new color TVs. We'd gather around, maybe still in our good clothes from church, and Walt himself would introduce cartoons, nature documentaries, or stories about Disneyland. It was like getting a special invitation into a magical place every week. Pure, simple, imaginative entertainment that the whole family could enjoy together. That hour felt special. Meet George Jetson, a colorful future. Flying cars, robot maids, meals at the push of a button, The Jetsons cartoon blasted onto TV screens in 1962, and for many families, it was one of the first shows they saw in color. It only ran for one season originally, but it painted this amazing, optimistic picture of what life might be like in the 21st century. Compared to our rotary phones and station wagons, the world of George, Jane, Judy, and Elroy seemed dazzlingly high-tech and convenient. It gave us all something fun to dream about. Hit tunes and hip moves, watching American Bandstand. It's got a good beat, and you can dance to it. Dick Clark knew his stuff. Saturday afternoons meant American Bandstand. You'd see all the latest singers, maybe the Supremes or Paul Revere and the Raiders, and watch the kids in the studio showing off the newest dances. The twist, the mashed potato, the pony. We tried learning them all in our living rooms. Bandstand wasn't just a TV show. It told you what was cool, what music to listen to, and how to move. It connected kids all over the country. Games we played: Twister, Hot Wheels, and more. Right foot red. Oh, the tangled up messes we got into playing Twister. Milton Bradley brought that game out in '66. And suddenly parties involved getting hilariously tied up in knots with your friends on a plastic mat. Great laughs. And for car-crazy kids, 1968 was huge because Hot Wheels hit the scene. Those little metal cars with the fancy paint jobs just flew down those orange plastic tracks. Plus, you had Barbies becoming more adventurous, G.I. Joe reporting for duty, and plenty of astronaut toys inspired by the real heroes. Our toy boxes were full of dreams. Instant Pets, just add water for sea monkeys. Those ads in the back of comic books were irresistible. Tiny little sea monkey families living in castles underwater. You sent away your dollar, got a packet of powder, added water to a little tank, and waited. What hatched were tiny brine shrimp, not quite the smiling creatures in the ads, but watching those little specks come to life and swim around still felt like magic. It was part science experiment, part wishful thinking, and totally a product of its time. Do you think today's kids are missing out on simple wonders like that? Dinner in a box, Swanson's frozen feasts. Remember peeling back the foil on those Swanson TV dinners? Talk about convenient. They slid right into the oven, and pretty soon the kitchen smelled like fried chicken or turkey. Came in those neat aluminum trays with little sections for everything: the main dish, the veggie, maybe some mashed potatoes, and often a little square of brownie that was usually hotter than the sun. In the 50s and 60s, these things were lifesavers for busy families. It felt like your own personal little feast, especially when you got to eat on a tray table right in front of the television. That was living. Astronaut chow, Tang and space food sticks. If the astronauts drank Tang, then we wanted Tang. That bright orange powder mixed with water became the official drink of the space age in our minds, especially after John Glenn took it into orbit. Did it taste great? Well, it tasted orange. And then there were space food sticks. Remember those? Sort of like chewy, flavored tubes chocolate, peanut butter, maybe? They didn't look like much, but hey, they were astronaut food. Eating that stuff made you feel connected to the whole adventure of space exploration. Riding the wave, the sound of surf music. Even if you lived miles from the ocean, surf music could take you there. It started with a driving, reverb-heavy guitar of guys like Dick Dale, Misserlau. Then bands like the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean added vocals about surfing, cars, and California sunshine. It was energetic, optimistic, and sounded like nothing else on the radio. That music captured a feeling of freedom, endless summer days, and catching the perfect wave, even if it was just in your imagination. Your own private soundtrack, the transistor radio. That little plastic box was your lifeline to the world, wasn't it? Your very own transistor radio. Small enough to hide under the pillow at night, listening to distant AM stations fade in and out through the static. You could catch the latest hit song, listen to a ball game, or just feel connected. It ran on batteries, so you could take it anywhere: the backyard, the beach, maybe tucked into your bike basket. It was the sound of freedom, your own personal music bubble in a pre-Walkman world. Summer of SWAT, Maris, Mantle, and baseball cards. Baseball was king, and the summer of '61 was unforgettable. Everyone was following the news as two New York Yankees, Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, chased Babe Ruth's single-season home run record. It was edge-of-your-seat stuff. Mantle got hurt, but Maris kept going and finally hit number 61. At the same time, kids everywhere were collecting Topps baseball cards, flipping them, trading them, sticking them in their bicycle spokes, chewing that stiff pink bubble gum and hoping to get your favorite player's card. That was a big part of being a kid back then. Beyond Reality, Twilight Zone, and Outer Limits. You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Rod Serling's voice, welcoming you into the Twilight Zone, was enough to give you goosebumps. Each week brought a new, strange story, often with a twist ending that made you think. Then came the Outer Limits, maybe a bit more focused on monsters and sci-fi scares. Do not attempt to adjust your television set. Both shows, mostly in moody black and white, stretched our imaginations and maybe kept us up a little later than usual. They weren't just spooky, they were smart television. Stepping Out, the go-go boot look. You couldn't miss them. Those shiny white mid-calf boots with the low-heel go-go boots. They just screamed mid-60s fashion. Popularized by dancers on shows like Hullabaloo and Shindig, girls everywhere wanted a pair. They looked futuristic, bold, and fun, especially paired with a miniskirt. Putting on go-go boots felt like stepping into the spotlight. They weren't just footwear. They were a statement about being young, modern, and ready to dance. Hair reaching new heights. The Beehive Do. You needed serious scaffolding and hairspray to achieve the Beehive hairstyle. It was the look in the early to mid-60s. Women teased and sprayed their hair into these tall, elegant domes. It looked glamorous, sophisticated, and definitely took some effort to maintain. From movie stars to the lady checking out groceries, you saw beehives everywhere. It was a bold fashion statement, that's for sure. Ultra. Popcorn Perfection, the Jiffy Pop Show. Before microwaves, making popcorn was an event, especially with Jiffy Pop. You bought this foil pan with a wire handle, put it on the stove burner, and started shaking. Hearing those first kernels pop, watching the foil dome puff up bigger and bigger. It was like a science experiment you could eat. A little bit of stovetop magic that ended with a pan full of hot, buttery popcorn. Sharing a bowl of Jiffy Pop felt like a real treat. Crazy hair everywhere. Those troll dolls. Suddenly they were just everywhere. Little plastic dolls with wild, fuzzy hair sticking straight up in bright colors like pink, blue, or orange. Good luck trolls, they were called. Started by a Danish woodcarver named Thomas Dam. Kids collected them, stuck them on dashboards, carried them in pockets. Supposedly, rubbing their hair brought good luck. Who knows if it worked, but they were certainly cheerful little critters to have around for a few years there in the early to mid-60s. Holy smokes, the Batman craze. No. Batman. You couldn't escape that theme song. Saturday nights, didn't matter what else was happening, you park yourself in front of the TV for Batman. It hit the airwaves in '66, and boy was it a hoot. Bright colors, crazy villains like the Joker and Catwoman, and Adam West playing it all so seriously. And those fight scenes with the words popping up POW. Bam! Zap! Like right out of the comic books. It was campy, sure, but twice a week, we were glued to the set, waiting to see how Batman and Robin would escape the latest cliffhanger. Good, clean fun. Boldly Going, the arrival of Star Trek. Space, the final frontier. Thursday nights, maybe? That's when we first met Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and the crew of the Starship Enterprise. Star Trek started in '66, and it felt different. It wasn't just aliens and spaceships. It was about ideas. A crew with different backgrounds working together, exploring strange new worlds, trying to solve problems without always resorting to fighting. Especially with everything going on in the world then, seeing that kind of hopeful future on TV, where people used logic and reason. Well, it made you think. It was smart sci-fi. Lick 'em and stick 'em, collecting S&H green stamps. Remember Mom carefully tearing S&H green stamps out of the little machine at the checkout counter? You got them for buying groceries, getting gas, all sorts of things. Then came the job of licking them, that taste, and sticking them row after row into the saver books. Filling up a book felt like a major achievement. Then you'd pore over the catalog, dreaming of the toaster, lamp, or toy you could redeem your full books for at the S&H store. It was like an extra reward system for everyday shopping. Sidewalk surfing, metal roller skates. Clamping those metal skates onto your sneakers with a skate key. That was step one. Step two was trying to stay upright. Roller skating back then, usually right on the sidewalk, was an adventure. Those things were loud, clunky, and if you hit a crack just right, you were going down. But boy, was it fun. They were adjustable, so they lasted a while as your feet grew. It felt like flying, even if you were just wobbling down the driveway, dodging pebbles and trying not to scrape your knees too badly. Reaching for the stars, the space race buzz. Gosh, the stars seemed closer back then. We kids would lie out on the lawn on summer nights, pointing up, dreaming of being astronauts. The whole country was caught up in the space race. Remember watching the Mercury and Gemini launches on those big, clunky TVs they rolled into the classroom? History unfolding right there. And then 1969, the moon landing. Neil Armstrong stepping onto the moon, wow. Even folks who didn't usually get excited were cheering. Space wasn't just out there. It felt like the next frontier, and we were all watching America get there first. What memory pops into your head first when you think about the 1960s? Backyard bang bang, playing with cap guns. Was there any sound more exciting in a backyard game of cowboys and Indians than the pop of a cap gun? We had those realistic-looking toy revolvers, maybe a Fanner 50 or a Stallion .45. You'd load a roll or ring of paper caps, pull the trigger, and get that satisfying bang, a puff of smoke, and that distinct smell. We spent hours running around, playing out scenes from our favorite westerns. Sure, your fingers got smudged with black powder, but feeling like a hero for an afternoon was worth it. Living with a bomb, duck, cover, and hope. That siren sound still gives me a little shiver. Remember the school drills? Duck and cover. We'd all scramble under our little wooden desks, hands clasped behind our necks, honestly thinking that would save us if the worst happened. The early 60s, especially around the Cuban Missile Crisis with President Kennedy on TV, felt pretty tense. My own dad stocked our little cellar with canned goods and jugs of water, just in case. It sounds scary now, but as kids, part of it felt like playing spy games. Still, it definitely cast a shadow, knowing that big mushroom cloud was something folks worried about daily. Here come the Beatles. America goes wild. February '64, that's when everything changed. For guys from England, the Beatles landed at JFK Airport, and America just went bonkers. I remember crowding around the TV for the Ed Sullivan Show, watching them play. My older sister, screaming like crazy. Their haircuts, those suits without collars. It was like nothing we'd ever seen. Suddenly, every kid wanted a guitar. It wasn't just music. It felt like a whole new attitude arrived, shaking things up. Beatlemania was a force of nature, no doubt about it. Cool wheels, the Schwinn Stingray bike. Forget 10 speeds. The bike every kid dreamed of in the mid-60s was the Schwinn Stingray. It just looked fast, sitting still. That long banana seat, the high-rise ape hanger, handlebars, maybe a slick rear tire. It was like a little muscle car on two wheels. Schwinn got the idea from kids in California customizing their bikes. Getting one felt like graduating to the big leagues. Suddenly, you weren't just riding around the block. You were cruising in style, feeling like the coolest kid on the street. Bouncing Bonanza, the Whammo Super Ball. You couldn't just bounce a Super Ball, you unleashed it. Made by Whammo out of something called Zectron, this little black ball had an incredible bounce. You could drop it from your waist, and it might bounce over your head, or even onto the roof. They were unpredictable and incredibly fun, leading to lots of chasing after runaway bounces. For pure, simple, physics-defying fun, the Super Ball was hard to beat. Good old days, simple childhood fun. Life felt different for kids back then, didn't it? We were out the door after breakfast and back for dinner. Maybe riding bikes everywhere, especially those cool banana seat bikes. Playing kickball in the street until the streetlights came on. Drinking water straight from the garden hose on a hot day. Summers felt like they lasted forever. We didn't have all the gadgets kids have now, but we had freedom and imagination. Maybe a race down the hill ended in a harmless tumble, but that was part of the adventure. Wiggly Wonders, the Jell-O mold era. Was there a potluck or holiday dinner in the 60s that didn't feature some kind of Jell-O mold creation? Lime green Jell-O with shredded carrots and marshmallows? Maybe lemon with tuna fish? Sometimes it was just fruit, thankfully. Those molded gelatin salads and desserts were everywhere. They wobbled, they jiggled, they gleamed under the dining room lights. Kids might have poked at them suspiciously, but you had to admire the effort. It was definitely a signature dish of the era. 3D worlds in your hand, the Viewmaster. Click. Remember holding that sturdy plastic Viewmaster viewer up to your eyes? Sliding in a round cardboard reel filled with tiny color photos. Each pull of the lever revealed a new scene in amazing 3D. You could visit Disneyland, see scenes from movies, travel to faraway lands, or learn about animals, all without leaving your living room. It felt like magic, peering into those little windows and seeing a whole other world pop out at you. Simple technology, but it sparked so much imagination. Family history in squares, the slideshow night. Okay, lights out. That meant Dad was setting up the slide projector, putting up the screen, plunging the living room into darkness, and then the familiar whir and click-clack of the Kodak carousel projector cycling through those cardboard-mounted slides. Inevitably, a few were upside down or backward. We'd see pictures from family vacations, birthdays, holidays, our whole lives flashing by in brightly lit squares on the wall. It was our own personal movie night, a chance to relive memories together before home video became common. Instant fizz dropping in a fizzy tablet. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh what a relief it is. Wait, that was Alka-Seltzer. But remember fizzies? Those tablets you dropped into a glass of water to make instant flavored soda? Grape, orange, root beer. Watching them bubble and dissolve was half the fun. They weren't exactly gourmet, but they were a cheap, quick treat, especially on a hot summer day. It felt like a mini science experiment you could drink. A simple, effervescent pleasure from the past. Movies under the stars, the drive-in experience. Remember piling into the station wagon, maybe already in pajamas for the drive-in, finding the perfect spot, Dad wrestling that clunky metal speaker onto the car window. The sound wasn't great, but who cared? There was the playground below the giant screen, trips to the snack bar for popcorn and maybe a snow cone, watching cartoons before the main feature. Sometimes you'd fall asleep before the second movie even started. Every trip felt like a mini adventure, a whole night of entertainment right there in the family car. Toys that rocked, robots and spacemen. Himain bir 12 plastic boxers, hawking soak in whole batches. You'd mash those buttons like crazy trying to knock the other guy's block off. Hours of noisy fun right there, usually ending with someone shouting, "His head popped up." Mark's Toys put those out around 64. And if outer space was more your thing, Major Matt Mason was the man. Mattel brought him out, inspired by the real astronauts. He was this bendable spaceman action figure. Maybe his wire joints wore out eventually, but while he lasted, he went on some amazing adventures in our minds, fueled by all the NASA excitement. Playing grown-up, those candy cigarettes. Unthinkable today, right? But back then, buying a pack of candy cigarettes from the corner store felt pretty cool. Those chalky white sticks, sometimes with a red tip to look like they were lit. You'd pretend to puff away, maybe releasing a tiny cloud of powdered sugar smoke. It was all part of playing grown-up, mimicking the adults you saw. Just harmless fun at the time, another penny candy treat, though looking back now, it seems pretty strange. Building dreams, glue, paint, and model kits. The smell of testers, glue, and paint. Opening that model kit box was pure excitement. Whether it was a classic car, a World War II fighter plane, or even one of those cool Aurora monster models, model building was serious business. Carefully snapping pieces off the sprue, try not to get glue everywhere, painstakingly applying tiny water slide decals. It took patience, maybe more than we often had, but seeing that finished model sitting on your shelf, that was a real feeling of accomplishment built with your own two hands. Simple skills, playing jacks. All you needed was a smooth spot on the porch steps or the sidewalk, a small rubber ball, and a set of metal jacks. This game goes way back, but we kids in the 60s spent hours playing it. Tossing the ball, scooping up the jacks onesies, twosies, threesies all the way up. It took concentration and quick hands. Such a simple game, but it was always a good way to pass the time with friends, seeing who had the best touch. Down-home comfort, watching Andy Griffith. Life seemed simpler in Mayberry. The Andy Griffith Show, starting in 1960, felt like visiting friendly neighbors each week. Sheriff Andy Taylor, his son Opie, jittery Deputy Barney Fife, Aunt Bee. They felt like family. It was gentle comedy, but it always had a good heart and maybe a quiet lesson about doing the right thing. In a decade with so much change and sometimes turmoil, spending a half hour in that peaceful small town was mighty comforting. It just felt good. Dialing up trouble, the rotary phone. That satisfying whirring sound as the dial spun back. Using a rotary phone took commitment. No speed dial here. You stuck your finger in the hole for each number and pulled it around. Miss dial? You had to start all over. And those heavy black Bakelite receivers. Conversations felt more deliberate, maybe because dialing took so long. Party lines often meant waiting your turn or accidentally overhearing misses. Gabbled down the street. It was the sound of communication back then, slow but steady. Shiny and bright, aluminum Christmas trees. Talk about futuristic holiday cheer. For a few years there, aluminum Christmas trees were all the rage. No messy needles, just shimmering silver branches. You couldn't put regular lights on them, fire hazard. So they often came with a rotating color wheel placed on the floor. This bathed the tree in changing shades of red, blue, green, and yellow. It looked space-age and modern, a real departure from the traditional evergreen. A unique, very 60s holiday memory, for sure. Saturday morning ritual, cartoons galore. Was there anything better than waking up early on Saturday morning, pouring a bowl of sugary cereal, and planting yourself in front of the TV? Networks rolled out hours of cartoons, maybe Space Ghost, the Herculoids, Johnny Quest, or Bugs Bunny and Friends. No VCRs meant you had to be there live. It was a kid's paradise, a weekly block of animated adventures and goofy antics that felt like it was just for us. Those theme songs are probably still stuck in your head. News from the front. Walter Cronkite and Vietnam. Every evening, it felt like the whole country tuned in to hear Walter Cronkite deliver the news on CBS. He was the most trusted man in America, they said. And when he went to Vietnam after the Tet Offensive in early '68 and came back saying it looked like a stalemate, people listened. You could feel the mood shift even in our living room. It wasn't just news anymore. It felt like history was being made right there on our TV screens, and it wasn't always easy to watch. That broadcast really made waves. Enjoying this look back? Feel free to hit that like button or subscribe for more trips down memory lane. Sock It to Me, the Laugh-In Revolution. Very interesting. Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In hit TV screens in '68 and felt like nothing else. Fast-paced, filled with crazy characters, quick cuts, catchphrases, sock it to me. Look that up in your Funkin' Wagnalls, and topical humor. Goldie Hawn dancing in a bikini, Arte Johnson as the German soldier. It was zany, sometimes chaotic, and definitely pushed boundaries for TV comedy. It captured the high energy and changing attitudes of the late '60s perfectly. Pint-sized baking, the magic oven. Who needed a real oven when you had the Easy Bake Oven? Kenner came out with this little marvel in '63, and it was powered by nothing more than a light bulb. You mixed up tiny packets of cake or brownie batter, slid the little pan in, and waited for the magic to happen. The results weren't always bakery perfect, maybe a little gooey in the middle, but making it yourself felt fantastic. It gave kids a taste of being grown up in the kitchen, creating something warm and sweet all by themselves. On the road again, stopping at Hojo's, seeing that bright orange roof on the highway, that meant you were getting close. Howard Johnson's restaurants were everywhere back then, a welcome sight on a long family road trip in the station wagon. You knew what you were getting, maybe fried clams, a hot dog, or one of their famous 28 flavors of ice cream. Sitting in those turquoise booths felt like part of the adventure. Hojo's was reliable, friendly, and for a kid, scoring an ice cream cone, there was the perfect end to a day of traveling. Fixing the TV, tube testing trips. Remember when the TV picture would start rolling or go fuzzy? Chances are a vacuum tube had burned out. Dad would carefully pull the tubes out of the back of the set, put them in a paper bag, and off you'd go to the drugstore or hardware store. They had these big testing machines with sockets for all the different tube types. You'd plug them in one by one, hoping the needle on the meter would swing into the good zone. Finding the bad one felt like a victory. It meant you could go home, pop in a new tube, and get back to watching your shows. Adventure in print, reading Boy's Life. If you were a boy, especially if you were in the Boy Scouts, getting your monthly issue of Boy's Life magazine in the mail was a big deal. It was packed with cool stuff. Stories about camping and survival, jokes, comics like Pedro the Mail Burro, how-to guides for building things, and ads for camping gear or chemistry sets. Even if you weren't a scout, reading it made you feel ready for adventure. You learn about knots, first aid, or maybe just dream about exploring the wilderness. It's quite fascinating how certain possessions and conveniences conveyed so much back then, isn't it? From automatic dishwashers to elegant jewelry, these items signaled that one had achieved a certain level of success. Do any of these resonate with your own memories, perhaps things you saw, owned, or maybe just dreamed of having? Please share your recollections in the comment section below. And if you found this journey back in time enjoyable, we'd appreciate it if you'd like the video, subscribe to GoldDaysUSA, and activate the notification bell to stay updated on our future explorations.